Bauer, author of the BauerPowerPlays. What's up, Ryan? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing well, man. Tell us about your off season. What's been going on? You've been doing research. You've been studying. What's new with you?
Oh man, yeah. Especially a ton of research going on. Probably right as the NBA season ended. It was just go from one sport right to the next. NBA was a grind. There's a whole different element to it. You have this thing called fouls, where a guy doesn't have to get injured and he'll still miss half the game. Mop the floor with you in Madden this year.
No, he didn't. Don't believe him.
Well, you did. Well, until you went to the Madden World Championships, the camp, it was rough for you. And after that, I don't think anyone beat you for a solid month and a half. I don't know what those guys thought.
I got eight championship rings. I got trophies all in the house. You know, it was time for me as the commissioner of our league to allow someone else to win it for the next couple of years, because we won too much and we don't want to be called a cheater.
There are things like Matthew Berry's podcast has been retired from awards in certain fantasy circles because it's like considered a legacy thing. Like he's won so much that you go up on the Wall of Fame kind of thing, and that's
pretty much
that's kind of the status of where you are right now. Ryan, do you play much in the preseason? I'm not one to get into preseason DFS myself, but I know some people do. And if you had any tips for people approaching a preseason DFS, what would they be?
So personally, I'm not a big preseason NFL fantasy guy because I'm a guy that relies on tons and tons of research. I like stats. I like reading things. And I personally feel like it's tough. You never really know how many snaps a guy's getting. You got to start, scrolling down to the bottom of the depth chart. My advice for anyone that's wanting to take a dip into preseason, I'd probably go in now, week one. That's uncharted waters for me. I don't know half of the back end guys, the guys that won't make the team. But my advice would be to really read and go into each team's kind of page, and each team has beat writers in the NFL, and go through those guys. They'll tell you who's playing, how many snaps, if this guy's playing the whole second half. That's what I'd look into is doing things like that. And, of course, Vegas. Look at the spread, the line totals, all of that.
Yeah, there are no dummies out there in Vegas.
No question. I mean, if we're going to talk about that, I'll have two words for you. Go to the third and fourth string running back, because usually come third, fourth quarter, I know for sure fourth quarter, they're running the ball trying to get out of the game. So that's always key. But talk about this year, what you're going to do differently and what you learned from last year in tournament play and your strategy in those games.
Okay, well, I mean, I think out there a lot of people, they start the weekends or the week's getting ready to begin, however you want to look at it, and they don't kind of know. It's a ton of information. There's 16, 14, 12, how many bye weeks there are, new games. Personally, for me, it comes Tuesday morning. The biggest thing I found last year that worked for me and worked for people that listen to me and things like that was really the Vegas lines. Tuesday morning, that's the first thing I check. And most importantly, I check the totals, the over-unders. What games am I going to target? Are there any sweet games with that 51, 52, 53-point total where you just, it's just going back and forth? But you can stack on both offenses. And just, find those games. It tells you which games to target and which games to stay away from. This year, already the lines are out for week one. You're really looking at two games that could really see a ton of scoring. That's New Orleans and Oakland, and Indianapolis and Detroit. But along with the totals, I'm also looking at the spreads, because that'll kind of give you a hint to what the game flow could be. You have Kansas City, who is at home in week one against San Diego, and they're a touchdown favorite. So that tells me there's going to be a lot more passing from San Diego's side than there is running. So that can, bump down a Melvin Gordon. And that's a big key to look at, especially with the, a team like the LA Rams that may be 1 year away from being really good, but have a phenomenal running back this year in Todd Gurley. They may be on the road at New England or something like that and be a 10-point underdog. That may be that type of week. you're going to look to maybe fade Todd Gurley that week. That's the week you kind of fall off of. And, DFS, obviously, in season long, you're playing Todd Gurley every week as long as he's got 2 healthy legs.
Ryan Bauer here with us, the author of the BauerPowerPlays, back for season 2 here on Running with MJD. Ryan, a lot of people, there are all different kinds of games you can play. Certainly head-to-heads are popular, but I think people all have that dream of being the fantasy football equivalent of Chris Moneymaker. You get into the main event and you win the big tournament and you're in Vegas winning 7 figures. So if you're a DFS newbie, a daily fantasy sports newcomer, what are some tips on how to approach tournament play specifically?
Okay, so as some may know, some may not, there's basically 2 types of games on, the DFS website. You got your cash games, and then you got your tournament games. And a tournament strategy that I found that most people are successful with is looking for players that have that high ceiling. In tournaments, you're not really worried as much about the guy's floor because you're not looking to just barely cash. You're not looking to go into a tournament and double your money, but to double your money, you've got to finish in the top 15%, as opposed to doubling your money, finishing in the top 50% in cash games. That's an unproductive way to do it. You're looking for guys with that 30, 35 point total. You're looking for guys that you don't trust in cash that you would trust in a tournament. Guys like a Tavon Austin. Some weeks a Sammy Watkins, a Deshaun Jackson. Those are guys that you're really going to target in the tournament games. One, because they have that ceiling. They're home run hitters. They can catch 3 passes and have 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. They have that 30, 35-point potential. And then you also want to look into tournaments, another strategy along with high ceiling, maybe a little bit of a lower floor guys, is stacking. If you think Allen Robinson's due for a big week, you're telling me in your research that you've done backs that up. Allen Robinson has a big week. That translates into Blake Bortles having a big week as well. So you maybe want to double down with that. That's what a lot of people do. A lot of people stack the QBs with wide receivers and even 2 wide receivers. I was successful last year, sometimes going Big Ben, AB, and Martavis. You throw 40 times, there's enough piece of the pie.
Right.
For everyone. And the last thing with tournament, you really want to look at ownership percentages. You don't want your whole team to be guys owned over 20, 25%, because that means that if they hit, you're just splitting cash with a ton of people. You're not really diversified. So you want to look to guys that maybe are a little bit off the radar, maybe great players that are coming off maybe 2 back-to-back bad weeks, maybe coming off an injury, taking a flyer on one of those guys. And then the transition to really the other style is cash games. That's really how you build your bankroll on the DFS sites, because it is hard to finish in that top 2% where the cash is really substantial.
Right.
in those GPPs. So personally, I do like an 80-20. 80% of my money goes into cash games, 20% into tournaments. And cash games, ownership doesn't matter as much. High-owned players are fine. You only have to finish in the top 50%. The ownership does matter a bit. If there's a guy that's a value play or is just a must-own guy, you want to roll with him because you don't want to be on the outside looking in. If he's going to be 75% owned and he hits and you have him, great. You're still in the running with the rest of the guys. But if he hits or if he doesn't hit, or if he hits and you faded him, you're on the outside looking in. You're going to have a hard time getting back into that top 50%. And those guys, you want to target the high volume, the heavy workload players. Like a Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry's a much better cash game player than maybe a Sammy Watkins or Deshaun Jackson like we were talking about earlier. You want the high volume, high targets, the guys that have the high floor that are going to get you that 10, 12, 15 minimum points per week just from, a volume standpoint.
Well, Ryan, let me ask you this. This is daily fantasy you're talking about, but I want to know, what do you think you're going to do in the Running with MJD Listener League? Do you feel like, that's what we really want to know.
Do you play much redraft, or are you mostly a DFS guy, or you have your redraft leagues too?
Oh, I'm all in on everything. This fantasy football, I don't do this for thrills. I do this for real. I got that from the man MJD himself. But I really do that on all aspects. And to be honest, I think I'll win it.
That's what I'm talking about.
We wouldn't want you in the league if you didn't think that. What is your least favorite draft position in a 14-team league?
So this year, right in the middle.
All right, Bill, take note. Bill, you got that?
Put it right in the middle,
Okay.
Phil.
7 or 8, something like that seems pretty equitable.